Hey Sabers, this is Miss Marsh. So today we're going to look at section 5.5, day 1. We're actually going to split this section into 2 days. And we're going to make sure you want your notes, pen or pencil. You may need a calculator today. And then also you're going to want those fill-in notes that I gave you. Those notes that I gave you. Make sure you have that in your notebook. You can tape them in actually so then you don't lose them. So this video is going to focus on how to find x and y intercepts of a linear equation and also learn how to graph linear equations using those intercepts. We're also going to take a quick look at horizontal and vertical lines. So some vocabulary that we're going to want to have down. We have the x-intercept, a y-intercept, and standard form. X-intercept is where the graph crosses the, guess it, x-axis. So this is where on the x-axis my graph hits. Now, y-intercept, exactly the same thing, where the graph crosses the, but instead of x-axis, I have the y-axis. Now, standard form of a linear equation. This is similar to what you guys have seen for slope-intercept and point-slope. This one's just a little different looking. He looks like ax plus by equals c. That's the way he's going to look. So x and y are going to be on the same side. Now, one thing that's kind of special about him, a cannot be negative. So we're going to have to watch for that when we make these, and that's going to be more important in the next video on 5.5. So let's actually try an example. We want to find the x and y intercepts. So to do this, this is how you're going to do it. So to find the x-intercept, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to plug or substitute 0 in for y. Okay, so let's actually do that on my equation here that they gave me. 3x plus 4y equals 24. So I'm going to plug 0 in for y. So where I see a y, I'm going to put a 0 there. Alright, now part 2 that I'm going to do here, I'm going to then solve for x. So let's solve for x. I would have had, this would have given me 0, right? So I'm going to get 3x equals 24. So if I solve for x, divide by 3, right? We're going to get x equals 8. Solve for x. That's good. Now you're going to want to put it in a point. So you're going to want to place the number you get into the point number, comma, 0. So this way I'm going to have 8, comma, 0. That is our x-intercept, because intercepts are always a point. So please try to make sure you remember to put it in a point format. Now, that's only to find the x-intercept. To find the y-intercept, you're going to basically do the same thing. So number 1, instead of plugging in 0 for y, you're going to plug in 0 for x. So let's do that here. I have 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 24. So then, just like last time, instead of solving for x though, I'm going to solve for y. And we're going to have 4y equals 24. So y, if you were to do it on a calculator, you would notice y needs to be 6. So then, just like last time, you're going to place it in the point, place the number you get, into the point 0, comma, whatever number you got. So in my case this time, I have 0, comma 6. So these are actually my two answers right here. 8, comma 0 and 0, comma 6. So let's try this again. We want to find the x and y intercepts of 5x minus 6y equals 60. So I'm going to find my x-intercept first. So to find my x, you want x to stay in the equation. So we're actually going to get rid of our y. So let's plug into y. A 0. There we go. So now, to solve for x, this is going to cancel out. It's going to give me 0 there. So I'm going to get 5x equals 60. Divide by 5, it looks like. And x should be 12. So I have x equals 12. So if I write that as an ordered pair, I get 12, 0. Let's find my y-intercept now. So because I want the y-intercept, you're going to plug in 0 for x. So it's always opposite of what you're looking for. Since I'm looking for my y-intercept, I'm going to plug in for my x a 0. That's going to cancel me out, so I'm going to get left with negative 6y equals 60. Divide by a negative 6. And I'm going to get y equals negative 10. Which if I write in my ordered pair, 0, negative 10. Now, what's really cool about this is you can actually graph a line using these intercepts. So instead of having to find a bunch of points and everything else, you can find 2 points and be on your way. So let's find the x and y intercepts of this equation. So x-intercept. So my x-intercept is, plug in 0 for y. So I'm going to get 0 out of there. So I'm going to get x equals negative 2. So one of my ordered pairs, negative 2, 0. Hold on to that. Be aware of that we got that. Now let's find our y-intercept. So how am I going to set that up? Which letter am I going to plug in 0 for? X or y? I'm going to plug in for x. So I'm going to have 0 minus 2y equals negative 2. So 0 minus 2y is just minus 2y. Divide by my negative 2 here. Looks like I get y equals 1. So my ordered pair would be 0, 1. So let's actually graph those points. I have negative 2, 0. So negative 2, 0 is right there. And 1, 0 would be right there. So now I have 2 points. I can actually connect these dots. And I actually have the equation graphed right there. That is a lot easier than having to manipulate an equation, and it's a lot faster too. So the math is pretty easy. So let's try one more here. I have 2x plus 5y equals 20. So I need to figure out what's my x-intercept. So I'm going to plug in for y a 0. So I get 2x equals 20 because that cancels. So x needs to be 10. So my ordered pair would be 10, 0. X is 10. I plugged in 0 for y. That's why I kind of get those points. Y-intercept. I have 20 times 0. Almost wrote an x there. Plus 5y equals 20. Cancels that. Be left with 5y equals 20. Divide by 5. Y must be 4. So if I write that as a point, my x was 0. My y is 4. So let's graph those. I have 10, 0 right up. Oh, no, that's not right. 10, 0, right there. And then I have 0, 4, so right there. Now, connect my dots. Well, that's not a bad line. There we go. So I have connected my dots. Now, one thing that's really good about intercepts is that it's easy. But now, imagine if you would get fractions or something for your intercepts. If that happens, this is not the good way to go. If you get a whole number, though, definitely you can use intercepts at any time, even with x and y, or slope intercept in point slope form. Either one of those work. Now, I want to introduce you guys to Hooyvuks. Hooyvuks is a way for us to remember our horizontal and vertical lines. So, a horizontal, H is for horizontal line at some number. So that looks something like this. I have my coordinate plane right here, and I have a horizontal line. A horizontal line looks something like that. A horizontal is a horizon. That's why it's a left and right line. So now this O is actually a 0 because a horizontal line has 0 for slope. If you guys remember slope, dude, this was 0 fun. Now, this Y is really important because what this does is it tells you that if you have a horizontal line, your equation is going to be y equals the number that you're at. So if, let's say this line was at 3, I would have had y equals 3 for an equation. So what this allows you to do is just look at an equation, which is y equals a number, and you can say, oh, that's a horizontal line, and it's got to be at that number, which is 2. So it makes it a lot easier for you to graph these lines. Now, V is for vertical. This is a vertical line at, that's not a good at symbol, there we go, at some number. Now, vertical means you're going up and down. Vertical is vertically ascending, so you're up and down. Now, a vertical line, if you remember, that had a undefined slope. Now, since this one had y equals a number, this one's x equals a number. So this helps you remember which one. If I have a horizontal line, you're going to have a y equals. If you have a vertical line, you're going to have an x equals. This is going to help you figure out what you have and how to write those equations, especially if I would somehow give you a graph. So let's actually put Hooyvuks into practice. We want to graph y equals -1. So if I put my Hooyvuks up here, I have a y equals. So since I have a y equals, I know that I'm going to have a horizontal line, or a left and right line, at -1. Now this y tells you you're going to be crossing the y-axis. So my line is going to be at -1 on the y-axis. So right here, a horizontal line at -1. This one, x equals 2. So my x is related to my v, and my v stood for vertical. So I'm going to have a line that's crossing the x-axis at 2, and it's a vertical line. So I'm going to find 2, and I'm going to graph a line at 2. So that is the equation, x equals 2. That is its graph. That is the end of the video today. See you later, Sabers.